destination. Darkness is quite near your feet and sunsets through your ears. And tide is rising, drought is non-existent. Sins are washed away, all the faults that you were facing. Sunset chaser, where's your new location? Searching for a purpose, the truth is making you nervous. And sunlight's waiting, there's a happy ending. Picture perfect skies, does your life have any meaning? Oh darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will soon clear for you. Daylight saver till the next adventure. Love is all around, but you're focused on your frowning. Rays are burning, achy luminescence, feeling through the gloom, tense and patient for its blooming. Oh darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will soon clear for you.
Sunny, see, there's no point of being me, as the night took my innocence. I'm starting to see there's no mention of happiness. Life I possess, I offer it to you as you banish regret. In my heart, tape mouth, I can't hardly speak. Tracks of my tears slipped away, I am weak as I sing this last melody. You set your own rest. Sunny song is my final request. Oh darling, don't you cry no more, as the sun will soon shine 1,000 times. Don't you worry, dear, dark clouds will soon clear for you.
Aloha, everyone, and good evening, and welcome to the 41st Annual Hawaii International Film Festival presented by Holly Kalani. And this evening's discussion with Gemma Cubero Del Barrio, the director of The Island in Me. My name is Anna Page. I'm the Director of Programming at HIFF, and I'm really honored to present this discussion today as part of our Film for Thought program at HIFF in partnership with the Hawaii Council for the Humanities. The Film for Thought program is designed to combine thought-provoking film with scholarly-led discussion. And as part of this program, we'll have this extended discussion hosted by scholar Caryn Lesuma, as well as a special companion essay that is written by Caryn that you can find on our website, on our Film for Thought page, or on our High Film blog, also on our website. So I would like to just go over a couple of quick housekeeping bits, and then I'm going to introduce all of our speakers, and we'll also have Liz Soto from the Hawaii Council of Humanities will say a few words. Importantly, if you're joining us live on Facebook or on YouTube, you can ask questions for the director or the scholar here and right in the comments box on Facebook or YouTube, and they will actually come right into our stream here and we'll get those answered for you. Again, feel free to leave comments or questions at any time, and we'll have time to answer those at the end of the discussion. Also, we will have this discussion up on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel after today. So if you really enjoyed this discussion, please tell your friends and family. They can come and check it out. And lastly, starting today, we are screening The Island in Me online at watch.hiff.org. You can buy tickets at hiff.org to that screening, and that film will be available on demand all the way until November 28th. So you can watch it anytime from now until then. So definitely check that out if you have not already seen the film last night at its world premiere. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers, our panelists for today. Gemma Cubero Del Barrio is a Spanish-American documentary and director and producer who has been working in the industry for 22 years and founded Tal Qual Films in 2006. Her documentaries include Ella es el Matador, She is the Matador, Automatic Cake, Our Atoll Speaks, and of course, this year's feature-length documentary, The Island in Me. Our discussion will be hosted by Caryn Lesuma, who is a professor of Faculty of Arts and Letters at Brigham Young University in Hawaii. Lastly, I want to bring forward Liz Soto, who is a communications director at the Hawaii Council for the Humanities, to say a few words more about this year's program and to introduce Caryn.
Aloha, Anna. Thank you so much. Aloha, my kako. It's such a pleasure to be here. Hang on, I accidentally hits a button. Okay, now I'm all good. I am the communications officer for Hawaii Council for Humanities, which is a state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. We were started in 1972, so we've been supporting innovative Hawaii Center humanities programming for nearly 50 years. Our mission is to connect people with ideas that enrich lives, broaden perspectives, and strengthen communities. And you can find more about us at highhumanities.org. So there's my pitch. Welcome so much to our second Film for Thought event of 2021. And before I launch in a little bit to our theme, I do want to say it was such a pleasure to see Island in Me live in a theater last night. That was a real joy. The theme this year for our Film for Thought series is recovering, rebuilding, and reimagining across time and space, which seems particularly relevant in this time of turmoil, transition, and potential. The documentary genre firmly roots us in our reality. Island in Me reminds us of the importance of bringing our heritage and our past into present and future moments seeking recovery and rebuilding. Our Film for Thought scholar is Caryn Lesuma, who is an assistant professor of English and composition coordinator at Brigham Young University, Hawaii, where she researches young adult literature of Oceania, Pacific folklore, and place-based pedagogy and rhetoric. When she is not teaching, reading, or writing, you can find her somewhere along the Ho'olauloa coastline, enjoying Moana Nui with her friends and family. In her essay, Caryn notes that Island in Me captures on a deeply personal level the ways colonization and diasporic living has impacted Pacific Islanders. I have long admired the thoughtful and compassionate ways Caryn uplifts the voices and experiences of our Pacific region, and it is such a pleasure to welcome her to this space. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Liz. It's really wonderful to be here. I appreciate being invited by Hawaii Council for Humanities, and I'm actually also part of one of the partner organizations for HCH, the Children's Literature Hawaii, where a lot of my research is placed in that. So it was also a pleasure, Gemma, to be able to study your film and really dig into some of the themes there. I really enjoyed it. So if you're ready to go, we can go ahead and chat a little bit about it. I have some questions. And first off, I actually just have a lot of questions about sort of the genesis of the film, how it came to be. You talk a little bit about it in relation to your relationship with Amelia, but I'm also interested in how you connected with Johnny and got her on board with it. And then I think I read somewhere this is the first time filming has been done on Puka Puka. And so I'm so interested about sort of how you worked through the logistics. How did you approach the Islanders and the community there? How did you build relationships with them so that the filming was sort of cooperative and welcomed?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for having me. It's always fascinating for me to listen and hear what other audience members have to say. And, you know, I'm very aware that a lot of people maybe have not seen the film. So I'm going to be as generous as I can. And I hope I will not give it all away. Or I will make people more interested to go into the website and see the film and vote for it. But the origin, everything started with me meeting Amelia. Actually, I was working on a documentary film in Madrid. And I was, somebody in that documentary film sent me an email and said, you need to meet this woman. And I'm like, where is she? It's like in Hawaii. And I was in Madrid. I'm like, great. So how are we going to do this? So anyway, we started communicating. And I said, well, I'm not really normally write emails to strangers, but I really trust this person. And they told me that I should connect with you. And we started writing to each other, and then she started to. I remember she told me, "Tell me a story." We started sharing about our lives, and then a few months later, I came to Hawaii, and I met her here. Amelia was born in Kahuku. She's the daughter of anthropologist Robert Borowski. And from the very first stages of our friendship and relation, what then will develop in a very deep relationship, she told me about Puka Puka. She had grown in this atoll. And at that time, I was talking like 18 years ago, she didn't know if Puka Puka was real or not. But this is really beautiful how it connects also with the theme of memory and recovery, because I think this film is in a very big way about memory, both for Johnny and for Amelia. So I met her, and she started telling me these stories. I never thought I would be making a film at all. Fast forward 7 years, we're living in San Francisco, and Amelia was kind of entering a little bit of a personal crisis. And I remember I was with her, she picked up the book of Johnny Frisbee that she had a photocopy of a photocopy from her father. And her father knew Johnny because her father had been one of the very few anthropologists that had been to Puka Puka. I was familiar with Johnny's father's work, Robert Dean Frisbee. I hope you can track all this because it's a lot of information. It was really powerful to me is that Amelia at that time, she was very confused about where she was. She was in the mainland, missing Hawaii, but also figuring, she had memories. She didn't know she had like another family somewhere. This is not actually in the film, but it's part of the background. And she picked up Johnny Frisbee's book. She read it in one day. This is Miss Ulysses from Puka Puka. It was a book that was out of print. And she came to the living room and said to me, Puka Puka is real. This woman writes about the place that I spent my childhood in. Amelia was taken when she was 1 year old, and she was there until 4.5, almost 5. So the very core formative years of her life, she grew up there. And then she came back. So Amelia had a huge urge to go back, but the connection to her return was what really the catalyst for her return, her need to go back and to find out who she was through Johnny Frisbee. And at that time I was with her and I got the book and I said, who is this woman? I mean, I knew nothing, you know, it's like, who is this woman? And I look at the back of the book, Johnny Frisbee, and I said, will she be alive? Because I wanted Amelia to really connect to her roots. And Puka Puka was definitely a big part of what I felt was part of her identity, but I didn't know anything about the place. So then read the book and she just went on this journey to go back to Puka Puka. And when she got back to Puka Puka, she really reconnected with people that consider her family. At some point, that return after 30 years to Puka Puka ended my relationship with her. And at that time, I was like, I didn't understand anything, but I didn't think I was going to make a film. She came back and she told me she had learned that her brother, Papa Charlie, Johnny's brother, was living in the island, and learned that Johnny Frisbee was actually living in Manoa. So I was like, are you kidding? I mean, I was like, and we both went and met with Johnny. She met with Johnny first, and then I met with Johnny. Before I met Johnny, I was so confused about what had happened, you know, that I started asking Amelia's family if they had audio recordings, if they have photographs, if whatever they have of the place. And I started diving into it. But for me, the origin of this film was trying to understand what this place was that you could not even get to. And then I went and met Johnny. And when I met Johnny, I was like, whoa. I realized these two women have been impacted by this place that is a mystery to me, but that is a mystery to many people. And I thought their lives were remarkable. So then I started on this journey alone for many years about how to raise money for it. I remember I went to New York and other places, and people were like, we don't know what to do with this film. Came back here. I gathered with Johnny and Amelia, and I said, if you really want to go back, we could pull it off, but we need to do a Kickstarter campaign. And I was really scared of doing that because Johnny Frisbee is an extremely private person. She didn't say, I want to have a film about me. She said, like, I would be into going back and seeing my brother again after 30 years. But there was no ego in her. What she wanted to do is do a film that would put Puka Puka on the map in a way that represented it. You know, and just she loves Puka Puka. And she was very hesitant about going back. And then we managed to raise enough funds to go. And this is a film that you can research in the books. I'm a trained journalist, so I dive into researching everything that has been written before I go. I'm sure you're familiar with that. But this film is unlike anything that I've done. First, because it's deeply personal, but also because there was nothing done on Puka Puka. Only the books of Robert Dean Frisbee in the 1930s. Nothing else. And the audio tapes that you will hear in the film says like, hello, and you go back into Puka Puka. Those are the audio tapes that Robert Borowski recorded because they will send tapes on boats to be in touch with the family. And I began to listen to those audio tapes and just really submerge myself. And I was like, wow, Amelia really, her first language was Puka Puka, and she had no mirrors. She didn't know she was white. I mean, it was a big mystery for me, Puka Puka. But over the years, I got really, really close with Amelia, with Johnny. Amelia was in the Cook Islands. And I was just blown away by her. I talk a lot. I hope it's okay.
No, that's fine. I'm so interested. And actually what you were talking about, sort of that the genesis over several years was you starting with knowing nothing and feeling that the island is a mystery, kind of leads into the next question that I have, which is sort of about, and this is kind of based in my own field of research, which is in young adult literature, particularly in Oceania. And it's about the ethics of storytelling. So this is like an ongoing debate within pretty much, I think, any storytelling field that has storytelling in it. But authors and scholars, they'll argue about representation, like who is allowed to tell other people's stories and things like that. Especially if you're telling a story as an outsider or about a marginalized community. And I think especially in Oceania, this is a region that has been and continues to be really heavily colonized, with outsiders always telling stories that have been damaging historically to Pacific Islanders. And so as an outsider going into Puka Puka, not knowing a lot about it, but knowing Johnny and understanding kind of that she wanted to put it on the map, as you said. How did you navigate sort of that ethics of storytelling? What sort of choices did you make in the planning and even in the filming and editing to try to represent it in the way that, that Johnny is happy with and that Puka Pukans are happy with, and that, portrays them ethically and not exploitatively, which has happened in the past?
And not just Johnny, but also Amelia. Amelia was living in Puka Puka when I was doing the development and the pre-production. So Amelia was considered a Puka Pukan. And while she was there, I was very much in touch with her. So she introduced me to the Island Council. She already had a very strong relationship, very recent relationship, because she was living there. Johnny had not been back in 30 years. So I think, how did I do it? For me, this film was it was a mystery, and I never thought I would be making this film. But also it was like an opening of the heart. And when you open the heart, you cross through all of that. Johnny was, she really loved me. It was, I don't want to sound presumptuous, but we connected. Like my father has her birthday. Like we connected at a very deep level. And she saw beyond that. And I think over the years, I built a lot of trust with her. And then Amelia was in Puka Puka, and she was also sharing with me, her experience. She was doing video diaries. She was like, so in a way it was seamless, because I was in touch with these two daughters of Puka Puka. And I would have never done this film if I didn't have that personal relationship with them. So they trusted me because they consider me part of Johnny and Amelia's family, in kind of like not very spoken way. But I wanted to take Johnny back, and Amelia also, she was living in between here and Hawaii, but very much in the Cook Islands. So she had a very strong relationship. Amelia also wrote for the newspaper in the Cook Islands, and she was very well known as an ambassador. Even the Puka Pukan people, they consider her an ambassador of Puka Puka. So when we did the Kickstarter campaign, it was amazing. Like we actually wrote, Johnny is like a legend in the Cook Islands and in New Zealand. When we went shooting, like from the day we left Hawaii, in every single airport, everybody was like, hello, Johnny, hello. It was incredible. But also Amelia was very respected in the community. So my job was just to go and do the best film that I could make. And I hope I'm answering your question, but I think it was just, I think there's a beautiful thing about the Puka Pukan people is that they see through you. It was such an incredible experience. I did go as an outsider, and I'm always an outsider. I'm an outsider even in my own country. I did a film about women bullfighters through a very different point of view. But I went in there not thinking that I would be somebody else that I'm not. I went in there because, I wanted to document this return. And the film was titled Homecoming at the beginning because it was all about then going back. I wanted Johnny to reconnect with Papa Charlie after 30 years, to have that experience. Johnny was 85 at that time. And Amelia just also wanted to, she was very much there. So we went to Puka Puka twice. The first time was in 2015. We launched this Kickstarter. We got support for 21 countries. It was an incredible experience. That's where we connected with the diaspora. I connected with the diaspora. We got donations from people in New Zealand that were part of the Puka Pukan people. They watched the trailer and they heard this Puka Pukan anthem. And I got emails saying, oh, my father was in that chant, it's like a move to tears. And we got $5,000 from a Puka Puka men in Australia. It was so moving, And then we got to Puka Puka, and, I knew that in 5 weeks, I could not represent this place. The shoot was for 5 weeks. I needed to go on a boat for 6 days with my crew. There was no electricity in Puka Puka at the time. And then I needed to charter out a plane. So I would have never, you can't just show up in Puka Puka. There are not hotels, there are no stores. You have to have the okay, of course, from the community. But this was more than okay. It was like a homecoming for them. And I was just there doing my job. But I knew that in 5 weeks I couldn't do. I was just like, the film was no longer just about Johnny and Amelia. It was about this place that I was entering that nobody knew about. And I was just so blown away in so many ways that I told my crew, can we stay longer? And they were like, absolutely not. We have to go back. So 2 years later, Amelia was in the Cook Islands, and we got funding from the United Nations for me to return. And I lived with her there for 6 months. And that's what I did. Our Atoll Speaks, that was also at HIFF. And in that, while I was there during 6 months, I got hurt. One of my legs just really collapsed. I couldn't walk for weeks, and the community took care of me. And it was an incredible experience for me because I didn't go anywhere else. So they saw through me. And I'm always very aware that I'm not from there, but they really welcome me like, someone that they value.
Yeah, thank you. And I actually wanted to ask you a little bit more about that part where you hurt your leg, because you mentioned it sort of briefly in the film. And I wondered sort of, what did you, and again, because you were kind of going there as an outsider and thinking of it as a mystery, what did you learn while you were there that you sort of didn't expect to learn, or that you didn't even know that you didn't know? And then how did you build that into the film? How did that affect some of your choices in the film?
I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be in the film. At the first shoot,
yeah, I was so interested in that.
Yeah, I never thought I would ever be. I've always hated like voiceover documentaries, like filmmakers that take too much room. So I never thought of that. During the first shoot, I took a beautiful young Pacific Islander woman, Gabi Fawiso, and she was documenting a little bit of me because I wanted to do a behind the scene kind of trailer or something. And that was during the first shoot. I never thought I would be in it. But it was really in the edit, 2 years in the edit. The film was always about Johnny and Amelia, but the film was not working. Something was like missing. And I worked with an amazing team of consultants. Kyun Lee, my amazing editor, she's hopefully listening. Bless her heart, I got 450 hours of footage. We worked on the edit for a long, long time, whatever the film needed. I put myself in at the very, very late of game during COVID, because I showed the film with a little bit of it, of me just trying to help the narration of the film, and people wanted more. And I also thought, because I had been in festivals with our Atoll Speaks in Aotearoa and Australia and many places, people would ask me, like, what is a Spaniard doing in this panel about the Pacific? And I always tell the truth that I had a personal connection to the women. But in this occasion, I felt like I needed to tell what was my true connection to the island, and to Amelia and to Johnny, in order to be truthful. And also because I am an outsider, I wanted to be, just really reveal, even though it was very scary for me. It's been very scary, and it still is. But you can't let you not do what you need to do to make the best film possible. And then what was the other question? Am I answering? I hope I'm answering your questions.
No, yeah, that's it. I was asking you kind of, what did you learn, and then how did you choose to portray that? So you're kind of saying.
Okay. So when I lived there for 6 months, I said yesterday, I felt really at home. and I lived with Mama Louie, an older woman. I had a grandmother when I was growing up. I felt like I was in my father's hometown, and I'm not joking. I just felt like the people were so, it was such a touching experience. And it also transformed me, like they would not let me shoot more than when I couldn't hardly walk actually for weeks. So they would be like, you're not filming. And then at some point when I was able to record, they would just let me go and shoot a few scenes, maybe one or two, and then come back, and I have a tanga, a healer, masseuse that the island council assigned for me, that he will come and massage me before and after. I was in so much pain. The guy looked at me like, what's going on with this woman? And I think for me, I learned Puka Puka is unlike anything I have experienced before. It's a society that is deeply communal. When I was there, laying on the bed, not being able to move, I was like, and I could have been airlifted with insurance. I was like, I don't want to go, because I think I felt really taken care of by the community. I also learned about joy. I was a complete workaholic before, and I still kind of am, but they didn't let me. They saw something in me that I needed to shift. And the Puka Puka is a place that is about, they work really hard. They're deeply communal. There's no room for individualism, if you can imagine that. So everybody has a place in society. It's a very egalitarian society. The women run the taro patch and the cooking, and the men do certain jobs like the fishing and the construction. And it sounds really, for me, there was a lot of order. And it opened me up in ways that I'm not going to tell you now, but it's like, it just transformed me. And I learned about lightness, and I learned about living a life that is, you work hard, but they play a lot, and they pray. And I'm not a religious type, but there is something, you're connected with the elements of nature there in a way that is pretty remarkable. So it was a resetting priorities for me.
Thank you. So I think we have time for maybe one more quick question. And so I kind of wanted to ask about, because you have, right, Amelia and Johnny's story, and they're both paralleled and kind of go back and forth throughout the film. And I think it's really interesting, right, because they're both remembering there's a lot of parallels in their stories. But I think the kind of purpose of the visit, or the way that they interact, is a little bit different. For Johnny, it's kind of a remembrance and a farewell to her brother. And for Amelia, it's almost like kind of a search for belonging and community there. And so I was wondering, kind of, I think that they both have contributed a lot to the community there. And I was wondering if you, just in your experience throughout the film and in your interactions with them and with the people there, how you sort of feel about responsibilities that different people have to the island and to the people, especially if you have ancestral ties to it or not, and how ways that you can contribute in those ways. Like, can you contribute in the same way, in the same ways with ancestral ties or not?
I think you can, actually. Mm-hmm. I really think you can. And this was the complexity of this film. I think it's easy to judge a character by the color of the skin. But I think that Puka Puka showed me, Puka Pukans are different in the sense that Amelia had a connection to Puka Puka that was, her father had been so respectful to the community, have kept a relationship of over 30 years, and like fish hooks, like they loved the father. So when she returned, she was treated like she was one more. She also grew up there, she had a brother that died there. She had a place to be buried. In Puka Puka, when you're born in one place, or when they consider you from one place, they tell you where you're going to be buried. So Puka Puka does, what I saw in Puka Puka is you don't have to have blood, Puka Pukan blood, to be considered, a Puka Pukan. And in this case, Amelia was considered a puka puka, and you can ask the puka puka people. And Johnny, of course, the relationship with her mother is so deep, and that was so beautiful for me to discover that puka puka was her mother. But she's also a woman that had a white father, Robert Dean Frisbee. So she's also like, they're both, what I loved about them is that here you have an island, an atoll, puka puka, and each of them were so different, but they have a lot of parallelisms. But in the shooting, for instance, with my cinematographer, he wanted to do some scenes together. I'm like, they're very different. They have very different connection. This is not something, let's just walk on the beach together and feel good about it. It's like I was trying to be true to their stories, but also see how their lives intersect and how one is feeding the other in a way in the film, So Amelia is inspired by Johnny. Johnny is this woman that has a life that is larger than life. I mean, I could have just done a film about Johnny Frisbee. And my truth was that how I got to the story, how I got to Johnny was through Amelia. And Amelia was also like she was there doing work. She was there. She had a very close connection to the place too. I don't know how to answer. I believe in transgeneracional in Spanish, transgenerational. I believe that when we go back to a place, we might have ties that are from other lives. I mean, you might not. I don't want to sound esoteric, but I don't know. I just felt like both of them were very authentic in their search. It's true that Johnny was in a very different place in her life. She's a woman that is fully accomplished. She is more towards the end of her life. Bless her heart. I'm so glad she's still alive. She lived for many more years. And Amelia was trying to find out who she was. And that is okay, And I think both characters bring a humanity that complement each other. I mean, I don't know, I'm not objective, of course. But I think the film is richer because the complexity of race and sexuality and also, I mean, Puka Puka is like a very, I think both of them have been deeply marked by their experiences there.
Sure, and I think that the juxtaposition is what gives it that depth and complexity, looking at both stories side by side. And I think that it allows us as viewers to ask deeper questions of ourselves in the ways that we think about our relationship to place and home. So thank you so much. I want to make sure we have time to talk about to get some questions in the Q&A. So let's go ahead and address some of them or answer some of them if you'd like.
Thank you, Sabrina. Sabrina has known me from the very, very beginning of this film. Any questions? Oh, Amelia, you're not objective. I want to say one thing. I learned that in Puka Puka, the order is such a sophisticated society. It's pretty amazing. When I was coming back from the first trip, people were like, "Oh, you come back to civilization." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, and I felt like my role was to make a film, like the person that is a carpenter does a house and somebody else go fishing because they know how to fish, and my job there was to do what I can do, which is to make a film. Yeah. In what ways did the story change from your experience in production to the final cut? It is the film you thought it would be. I never thought I would be in it. I never thought it would be about me, and I did not want to take much time with it. But I always say, my editor, we'll do whatever it takes. So we'll just follow the path with the footage that we have. I did write a skeleton. And then, at the beginning, I just thought it was about the return, but I never thought I would be so transformed, like so deeply transformed by it, and that I would get to love this place so deeply. So love is a powerful force. And in the end, one thing that I learned in Puka Puka was about love that is beyond romantic love that is about universal love that is about connection. I'm not answering your question, but yeah, I'm not the same person, even so sometimes I am. Also the order, like the men do this, the woman, I was this hardcore feminist, and I still believe in the equality of women. But it worked. Why? It worked. I was like, wow, I was really, I was deeply impressed. And there's a place that is a place of resilience and strength, and they know who they are. And that was beautiful to see in the process of finding myself. Okay, blah. Okay, so let's see. Aloha. Can you read that for me, somebody? Well, I have to. Aloha. Oh, good. Somebody's loving the discussion. Okay.
I think this is the same question from
In
before.
what ways did the story change? It didn't, I mean, I think the main change, I mean, the story of, have you seen the film? I mean, the film was always going to be about Johnny and Amelia and about how they were both impacted by this place, how this unique place in the world is touching you so deeply that it marks you forever. They were both outsiders and insiders. So that was always the same, of course. You know, I have to, the main difference is that this was an immersion film because Johnny is a very private person. Johnny is not, she's super accomplished. Life is bigger than life. But she will not tell you anything because she's so no egocentric. So I will have to like be with her and go there and talk to people. And so the film Puka Puka became more of a character. When we got all this footage, I told Kyon, because she had not been there, but Kyon had amazing understanding of the place, even though she had never been there. And I told Kyon, I want to make sure that we take you there, that when you're watching the film, you feel the pace of it. You feel that you feel it. I wanted you to go in, and the title change at the end, The Island in Me, was a big change. So the film went from Homecoming to recently The Island in Me, because there had been a process of transformation. And that would be a major shift. And what I want you, when you watch the film, is hopefully that you will take the island with you. There might be things that you might not like, you might not understand. I'm not a filmmaker that gives you answers. But if you love how they do spearfishing, if you love that the women is a matriarchal society and they can grow taro, if you love whatever you love about Johnny, whatever you love about, you know, if you take something with you, to me, that is the kind of, that is success for me.
And I have to say, that was one of the things I most enjoyed about the film was Puka Puka as a character, or as that sense of place is so strong throughout the whole film. That was one of my favorite parts of it.
That was the beauty of editing. Also, you know, the sound work. Like we wanted authenticity, but also the beauty of cinema, right? So there's no special effects, only just one, I think. But we wanted to work with the ambient sound, the bubbles, the fish, we wanted to engulf you with it. And my sound mixer, Phil Perkins, did a beautiful job, that the colorist too. I said to her, we are not changing reality, but you know, because it was 8 years of production, 10 years in the making, many different cameras, beautiful job at really portraying Puka Puka as what it is, what it was for us, which was like a unique place in the world. I'm not romanticizing it, but I feel like as a documentary filmmaker, I choose to tell a slice of reality, and I wanted you to be, you know, there's a beautiful scene. I want to say something. I talk a lot, but this is really important. When I went back in 2017, there was a beautiful man there, the only school teacher, that was very into using a GoPro and a drone. And I got him an extra battery so we could go further out into the water. And he passed me his hard drive of all the amazing footage that he had been recorded since he got the camera and the GoPro on the boat. and he has become the cinematographer of the film. Is the aerial cinematography under the water. This man had incredible footage fishing, and they know he's an expert at fishing, so he know what to do, what angle, and that was one of the things that gave me great satisfaction to actually be working with the people in the island. I didn't know that was going to happen, for instance, but that was just an incredible, surprise. And me or Vicente or Gabby could never do what he did with the drone and the underwater. So I don't know if he's listening, but call it Cotinga. That was a beautiful to work with the island and really to islanders, and really they really were so kind. They did everything they could to help.
We're just about out of time, but there is a couple of questions that just said, what were the reactions to the film by Puka Pukans and then by Johnny and Amelia?
Well, I have not been able to show it to Puka Puka because we just premiered at HIFF. But it will happen. We hope to, I don't know if I should say this, but I promise that I will take the film back. I hope we can go with Amelia and Johnny. That would be incredible. Because of COVID and everything, I'm talking to the festival in Rarotonga, and they love the film, and they would like to program it in for the opening night. And a lot of Puka Pukans live in Rarotonga, so we'll coordinate that. And also in New Zealand and Australia. But I wanted to wait until COVID is a little bit more under control, so we can actually go there and people can actually see the film in the theater. So I hope that that's coming. And at some point I will make the film available so anybody can watch it. But you know how this film business is. It's like, I don't want to kill it either in terms of distribution. And Amelia and Johnny, they watch. I show the film to them, and Haumea, Johnny's daughter, I show the film to them in the process of the fine cut, and I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have any fact checking or anything like that. And I wish they were here so you can ask them directly. But it was a treat yesterday to premiere, and I think, well, I don't know, you can ask them next time.
Thank you so much, Emma. It was great to hear more about it from you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I could talk about it forever.
Thank you so much, Caryn and Gemma, for this discussion this evening. I could just listen to you keep talking for another hour. Unfortunately, we have time constraints with our event, but I know it goes fast, really fast. But I just want to, extend a special mahalo nui to you, Caryn, and to you, Gemma, and to Hawaii Council for the Humanities for supporting this program. I want to remind everybody that if you really enjoyed this conversation, do let your friends and family know. It will be up on the HIFF YouTube channel and the Facebook page, so you can watch it or they can watch it. And if you haven't seen The Island in Me yet, you can watch it, but from now until November 28th at hiff.org. That's where you can get tickets. And this film is nominated for the HIFF Audience Award for Best Documentary. So you can vote by using the 5-star button in the streaming platform. That's how you can cast your ballot for this film. So again, just a special mahalo to everybody, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.